I've begun to make a teak door for the head in the cabin, and I'm working on the rails and stiles for the door. The original plan was to cannibalize the wood from this teak picnic table, which is what I started doing here. There's lots of holes. I've had to actually cut some plugs for these holes, what I started doing here. Actually cut them right from here. And there's also a seam in this board which would be covered by the slide bolt, but in the end I think I'm going to explore other options. I'm really not happy with the way this is coming out. I just don't like the look of this and all of the plugs that I'm going to have to make here. So I found this teak door from a local guy who had a stack of them. I think he said they were for Ocean Yachts is the name of the boat brand. It's obviously bigger than I need, so what I need to do is just basically cut it apart and utilize the wood. I'm going to have to reduce the thickness. This is 1.25 inches thick and I need 3/4, so that's what I'm planning to do. And here's the door with all of the parts epoxied together. I decided to not go with 3 panels and eliminated the center rail here that went at the bottom, since I'm not really worried about going for an original stock look. And finally, I've done the fitting of the door itself, requiring quite a bit of trimming, sanding down, notching for the hinges and the closure. And as you can see, closes very nicely. I did get some new brass hinges with the door closed, and now it's open for use with the head. I can see why a lot of people remove these. It does feel a little bit more cramped. Of course, it felt very spacious in here when there were no bulkheads, but that's not a possibility. And did have to notch this to get it to fit on the slide bolt strike plate, as well as that little, I don't know if you can see that, there's a teak block there, and it kind of goes around that and hits the rail here. And the final step here will be what is in these 2 little cardboard packages, which are my inlays, and they will be going here. I'll have to carve out into the panel and then epoxy those in. Then final sanding and varnishing, and I will hang the door again. And here is the inlay finally mounted. It was a labor of love, and as you can see, the boat's new name is Intrepid, or Little Intrepid. This was a labor of love. So I've obviously had to cut the veneer on the plywood back and then epoxy these in. Then I put a layer of epoxy on top of that, sanded it off. Unfortunately, went a little too aggressively with the sanding and had taken the name off, but I was still able to see the outline from where the little letters were epoxied into the inlay. So I took a little bit of stain, did a couple layers of that, sanded, and I think I got it back to almost as good as it was, not nearly, but overall this came out much better than I thought it would. This is the first inlay I've ever done, first door I've ever built also. I've done the final sanding and now ready for varnishing. Here's the finished door. Hung, brass slide bolt installed, and all varnished, 8 or 9 coats, and this came out really smooth. There's a lot of imperfections in the inlay that are probably not so visible on video, but I know they're there. But at this point I think they're acceptable, especially since this is the first inlay I've ever done, and it looks great, I think. Here's the back. That's it.